الستايل بتمشي كيف؟ ما ماشي. I will talk about grid computing. Grid computing, I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but it's the same concept as cloud computing, but it have different features. We can say about the used protocols for the grid computing. It have more enhanced features. I will concentrate on the main protocol used for the grid computing, which is the grid FTP. The outlines of my presentation will talk about the grid computing definition and grid computing standards, the grid computing protocols, and grid computing implementations. What is grid computing? Grid computing is a distributed computing system. Its goal is to create a large self-managing virtual computer out of collection of connected heterogeneous systems. This means that a grid system can be consisting of Windows machines and Linux machines. What are the standards of grid computing? Use the standards of grid computing. The first one was Open Grid Forum, and it has two principal functions. The first one was for the development of the grid standards. The second one is to build a community to help in building grid. The Global Grid Forum, which is an international organization, was in charge and is still in charge of defining standards for grid computing protocols and services. The Enterprise Grid Alliance was formed in 2004. The used protocols for the grid computing is the Grid Security Infrastructure Protocol and the Grid FTP protocol. And that is one of the points that make the grid more preferred than other systems such as cloud. Because of its reliability, of the way it transfers the data, it is built on authentication through using the OpenSSL, which includes a cryptography library, which is used to implement a secure socket layer and the transport layer security, TLS protocols. How the grid system is built? It is consisting of the main server connecting to the client. The main server have a public key, and the clients that are connecting to the main server has a private key which is signed by the main server. So it is building a network that is composed of a reliable relation between the main server and the clients. This is the main protocol for the grid FTP, and this is what makes the grid FTP unique. Extended version of FTP is optimized for the fast file transfer. Its features permit high performance and secure and reliable data movement. It is based on the reference for command 959 for those who are interested. It was for the original FTP, and the reference for command 2228, this is a security extension, and the reference for command 2389, this is for the negotiation and support for command options. Another thing that make the grid computing more unique is the data canal caching. In a regular FTP account, when you want to transfer a file, every time you should authenticate and repeat. When you want to transfer another type, you have to start another session of authentication. Unlike grid computing, you can make the authentication to transfer your files once. Another feature for it, that it uses multiple TCP connections, which is good on wide area links. It also exploits the FTP feature of fault recovery and extends them to cover its new data canal protocol. It has an automatic negotiation feature to detect the buffer size for both large file size and or small file size. This feature will aggregate the bandwidth. Another thing is pipelining. During transmission of files, we got a problem that lots of losing some parts of the file because of when a transmission starts, the sender send his request, then wait for the acknowledgement. This will occupy some part of the bandwidth, and but in grid computing, we don't have to wait for the acknowledgement. The transfer is going to be one after another without waiting for the acknowledgement, minimizing this time and reducing the latency time, as well as making the full benefit of using the bandwidth. Here is the comparison between the used FTP and the grid FTP in the transmission speed rate. We picked a size of 1 GB file size, and in a transmission between two cities, the regular FTP, the transmission speed was 5.23, and for the grid FTP, the transmission speed was 25.6 megabit per second. Grid implementation can be used in many areas. One of it is computing services. In many scientific researches, which need a high computing capabilities, we use grid computing because it can solve complex jobs. Data services also, it can be made, as we have implemented it in our research, for solving network bottlenecks. We use that as a solution. In a conclusion, grid is a reliable data transfer environment because of the fault recovery feature it's having, and because of the features of authentication that it's having. For proved researchers, grid computing have high performance in networks, and due to its features, can saturate bandwidth. All data transmit in grid networks is secure because of the encryption used. Thank you. Questions? Okay. Thank you.